She put the lime in the coconut, she drank it all up. She put the lime in the coconut, drink it all together. Put the lime in the coconut, she drank it all up. She put the lime in the coconut, called the doctor, woke him up, said, "Doctor, is there nothing I can take?" She said, "Doctor, to relieve this belly ache." She said, "Doctor, is there nothing I can take?" She said, "Doctor." Now let me get this straight. You put the lime in the coconut, you drink it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, you drink it all together. Put the lime in the coconut, you drink it all up. Put the lime in the coconut, you call the doctor, woke him up, said, "Doctor." Anyway, they just don't write them like that anymore. And that's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about today. But I just thought you'd enjoy a little musical break. So what I was thinking of talking about, I did a video recently, and I have no idea how recently it will come up in the rotation, because, I was doing videos and then deciding, oh, I'm going to put this one in here and move this one, and I decided I'm going to pretty much anything I do now, I'm going to just have them come out in the order that I do them, unless something really important should come up and I have to make it like a next day thing. But anyway, well, also there's a few, like I did Halloween, Veterans Day, and Thanksgiving all way back, some of the first videos I did, so they'll be coming up, and they'll obviously not, anybody who's watched my videos more, they'll recognize that it's my old studio. But anyway, besides that, they'll keep them coming. And the other thing, like I said, I did a video recently, and I was I was talking about movies or something, and I said, gonna try to kind of narrow the subjects down when I do stuff like this from now on. And so today I was thinking of like comedy movies. And I'm gonna cover, let's say, pre-1960, some of my favorite old time stuff. And if you go back to the silent era, everybody pretty much has heard is like Charlie Chaplin and all those guys. And you watch that stuff and it's good for laughs. But by necessity, that stuff was mostly, a lot of slapstick, physical humor, because of course it had to be all visual. There was no audio. So it's not the kind of thing I can sit and watch forever, but I think there's famous scenes, and I know one I remember watching quite a while ago is a Laurel and Hardy thing where they were delivering a piano, and it was way up top of these tall steps going up the side of a hill. It was even worse than the steps going up to the apartment that I lived in Pittsburgh, but that's beside the point. But it was one of these deals where, they're taking this piano and they'd get up so far, and then somebody'd come walking down the other way, and they'd have to go back down and let the person by, or they'd go up and it would slide back on them. And, it was like a half an hour of them getting to the top of the steps. And when they finally get to the top, they realized they could have just driven up there, but it was such a stupid, simple thing, yet watching them do it was hilarious. But like Laurel and Hardy's a good example of, they transitioned well though into talkies. And I know a lot of those older guys, like I'm going to lean back now. Maybe Maybe if I'm going to lean back, I should move this closer. I noticed I got awful small on the screen doing this. Anyway, there was other guys from the early days of, like the Marx Brothers. They were always good. Funny thing about the Marx Brothers for me is I liked their bits, and you know, a lot of times you just would see them. You'd be watching a show and they'd show, a Marx Brother thing, but I never like watching a whole Marx Brothers show. Yeah, this just looks weird being so small. Watching a whole show like that, I didn't like it as much. I guess maybe it was just like too much wackiness for, an hour and a half or 2 hours. But it's funny, I just mentioned to someone just today, was talking about another subject but as an example for what we were talking about, I mentioned an old Groucho line where he said he'd gone on safari, and he was awoken one night by a noise, and he came out of his tent and says, "I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got in my pajamas, I'll never know." I always like that kind of stuff, where the little play on words. I know for a long time as a signature on something, I used a Groucho quote that I always liked that said, "Outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read." But anyway, yeah, the Marx Brothers, I like them. There was another team around the same time called the Ritz Brothers, but I've seen them on things, but I don't know. They sort of seem like a knockoff Marx Brothers. I know a lot of people, biggies from the early days of that kind of stuff was the Stooges. And I remember watching them a lot when I was a kid, but they were never my favorite because again they were mostly just slapstick, you know. And the ones I really liked from that era. Well, I also mentioned there was a lot of comedies too from like the 30s, 40s, 50s that were a different type, the type that like Cary Grant would make. Well, they used to love them. They called them screwball comedies. If you ever get a chance, one that I always thought was hilarious, Bringing Up Baby. That's a good one. And of course, I'm pretty sure it was Cary Grant did the movie. Was classic from a play, Arsenic and Old Lace. But those are good. But the guys that never failed to make me laugh, Abbott and Costello. And I remember, I think it was like when I was in like junior high or high school. If I remember correctly, they were on Saturdays all the time. They showed their old movies, and I know I watched them all. And I'm sure you've all seen Who's on First. And one of the things with that, anytime I've searched for it on YouTube, the version I always see is from their TV show. But the best version they did was in one of their movies. But it was just, they were amazing how they could bounce that back and forth. And there was that other one, they did the math thing, and they did a couple versions of it in a couple of their movies. The one I always liked was one where Costello played a vacuum cleaner salesman. And he did a thing, and I forget now exactly, I'd have to look it up, but it was like 7 times 17 equals 28. And he would write it on chalkboard and do it and make it like it almost made sense. Things like that. But they always like, I think the best movie of theirs was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And it was cool because they used all the guys who were famous for making horror movies at the time instead of just putting somebody in a Frankenstein makeup or whatever. They had Bela Lugosi in there and Lon Chaney Jr. and Boris Karloff and all those guys playing the what's his name, Vincent Price. He does an invisible cameo at the end. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about was Abbott and Costello. If somehow you're not too familiar with them, see if you can find them somewhere and watch some of their stuff. They were always good for a laugh. Trying to think if there's any other in particular comedy things I want to talk about from the early days. Some other time I'll do like a post 60 comedy thing, but I don't know, something about movies from the 40s and 50s that I always liked. Not only the comedies, I think I might have mentioned before, I love those 50s sci-fi movies because they were just so badly done. And they're so much fun to watch. Anyway, folks, anybody have any questions? Should I end with a song? Well, you don't have to be rude about it. Could have just said, no, that's okay, we've had enough. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder why I bother with you people. But peace out.